My name is Judy S. Bell. I am 30 years old, and I bought my house 3 years ago. That detail matters. Not because I enjoy bragging about property, but because when love collapses, legal ownership often matters more than promises whispered in bed. I owned the four walls, the roof, and the front door. My boyfriend Marcus only had a key. We had been together for 3 years and living together for 2. On paper, we complemented each other. I was a structural engineer, logical, steady, and devoted to plans. Marcus worked in marketing and treated routine like a personal enemy. He loved spontaneous trips, expensive restaurants, and anything he could describe as an experience. I paid the mortgage, utilities, and most of the groceries. Marcus spent much of his salary chasing excitement. I never resented it because I believed we were building toward the same future. I thought my stability would eventually soften his chaos. I was wrong. The first crack in our foundation had a name: Vanessa. She was Marcus's ex-girlfriend from college, the woman he once described as toxic, reckless, and impossible to trust. She had cheated on him, borrowed money she never returned, and repeatedly disappeared whenever someone more interesting appeared. Marcus told me those stories during our third date. He also swore he had blocked her everywhere. 2 months before everything ended, he came home holding his phone like it contained something dangerous. "Vanessa contacted me," he said. I stared at him. "Why?" "She says she is in therapy. Apparently, part of the program is apologizing to people she hurt." "And you want to meet her?" "Just once." His expression was soft and careful. "I need closure, Judy. Then I can finally leave that chapter behind." I hated the idea, but I did not want to become the suspicious girlfriend who controlled his friendships. "Meet somewhere public," I said, "and tell me when it is over." Marcus returned that evening with red eyes. "She looked pathetic," he told me. "I cannot believe I ever loved her." Then he wrapped his arms around me. "I have a real woman now." I believed him. That was my mistake. The truth arrived on a Tuesday evening. Marcus and I were sitting on the couch watching an action movie neither of us cared about. His head rested against my shoulder while he scrolled through social media. He stood to refill his wine and left his phone face up on the coffee table. I was not snooping. The screen lit up less than 3 feet away. "Vanessa. My back still hurts from that angle. Totally worth it. Round 2 soon?" The room seemed to lose oxygen. I stared at the message until every word burned into my memory. Marcus returned humming. He noticed my expression, then followed my gaze to his phone. The wine glass trembled in his hand. "Judy," he began. "It is not what it looks like." I lifted the phone without unlocking it. "Which part?" He grabbed it from me. "Round 2? That angle? Her back hurting?" Marcus crossed his arms. "Fine. I saw her." My stomach twisted. "You slept with Vanessa?" "She kept messaging me. She said she still loved me." I was confused. "You live in my house. You sleep in my bed. And you needed to sleep with your ex-girlfriend to decide whether you wanted me?" "I did not want her." His voice sharpened as though I were being unreasonable. "I needed to know whether the spark was still there. And it was not." He stepped closer and reached for my hand. The next sentence ended our relationship more completely than the affair itself. "It was terrible, Judy. Her apartment was disgusting, the sex was awkward, and I stopped halfway through. I did not even enjoy it." I pulled my hand away. Marcus continued eagerly. "So, it was not really cheating. It was a physical test that failed." I looked at the man I had planned to marry. "You think it did not count because you did not enjoy it?" "Yes." Relief entered his voice because he believed I was beginning to understand. If I enjoyed it, that would mean I still had feelings for her. But I hated it. That only proved how much I love you. Something inside me became cold and perfectly clear. There was no reason to scream. Marcus had reduced loyalty to customer satisfaction. Arguing would only give him another opportunity to rewrite reality. So I relaxed my shoulders. Then I lied. "That makes sense." Marcus blinked. "It does?" "Yes. You needed closure. You got it. Relief washed across his face. He hugged me tightly. I knew you would understand. You are so logical. I placed one hand against his back. It is done, I whispered. Marcus thought I meant the affair. I meant us. The next morning, Marcus woke up lighter than I had seen him in months. He stretched beneath the sheets, smiled at me, and kissed my shoulder as though the previous night had ended in reconciliation rather than betrayal. I feel so much better, he said. I watched him dress for work. He hummed while buttoning his shirt. He even made coffee, something he had not done for me in months. No more secrets, he said, leaning against the counter with his favorite mug. No more secrets, I repeated. The lie tasted clean. Marcus stepped closer and kissed my cheek. I love you. Drive safely. I stood behind the living room curtain and watched his car disappear at the end of the street. Then I waited 2 more minutes in case he returned for his charger or wallet. At 8:05 a.m., I began. I did not cry. I did not break anything. I treated the morning like an emergency project with a strict deadline. First, I called a locksmith. I need the front and back doors rekeyed today. The earliest appointment is 10. I will pay double if someone arrives before 9:30. The locksmith agreed. Next came the finances. Marcus and I did not share a checking account, but he was an authorized user on my primary credit card. It paid for groceries, fuel, restaurants, and whatever spontaneous experience he decided we needed that week. I removed his name. Then I changed the passwords for every service connected to my account. Streaming subscriptions, Wi-Fi, food delivery, the security system. One by one, his digital access disappeared. By the time the locksmith arrived, I had already unfolded the cardboard boxes stored in the garage. The snap of packing tape echoed through the house. I started in the bathroom. His shampoo, electric razor, cologne, skin products, and the 3 different hair gels he insisted were necessary went carefully into a box. Nothing was thrown. Nothing was damaged. I refused to give him the opportunity to become the victim. In the bedroom, I emptied his side of the closet. Shirts were folded. Suits went into garment bags. Shoes were placed in pairs. Under the bed, I found a small wooden box filled with reminders of our relationship. Movie tickets, photographs, a hotel key from our first vacation, and the handwritten note I gave him after our first anniversary. For one dangerous second, I remembered the man I thought he was. Then Vanessa's message returned to me. Round 2 soon? I closed the wooden box and placed it with the rest. At 9:22, the locksmith arrived. He replaced every lock in under 40 minutes. The new keys felt cold and heavy inside my palm. Marcus's key, still hanging from his keychain at work, had become useless without him knowing it. By noon, I moved to the living room. I removed every photograph of us from the frames. The frames belonged to me, so I kept them. The memories went into a sealed envelope inside one of his boxes. He could take the pictures. I no longer needed proof that the relationship had once looked happy. By 3 in the afternoon, nearly every trace of Marcus had disappeared. The house did not feel empty. It felt larger. I stacked the boxes beneath the covered section of the front porch, protecting them from the weather. Then I found the spare key he kept in the kitchen drawer. I placed it inside an envelope. On a yellow note, I wrote 2 words. It counted. I taped the envelope to the top box where he could not miss it. At 4:30, I locked the door and sat in the living room chair facing the entrance. I did not turn on the television. I simply waited. Marcus usually arrived around 5:15. At 5:18, his car entered the driveway. The engine stopped. A door slammed. His footsteps approached the porch. Then there was silence. I imagined him reading his name on the boxes. I imagined the moment he noticed the note. The doorknob turned once. Then again. Harder. His key scratched against the new lock. Nothing moved. Judy? His voice came through the door, uncertain. Is the lock broken? I remained still. The knob rattled violently. Judy, open the door. My phone lit up on the coffee table. Marcus calling. I watched it ring until it stopped. Then he began pounding. What is this? Why are my clothes outside? Another call. Another voicemail. The pounding became frantic. I know you are in there. Your car is outside. I opened the doorbell camera application. Marcus filled the screen. His tie was loose, his face pale, and panic had replaced the confident relief he wore that morning. I pressed the microphone button. Stop hitting the door. You will damage the paint. He jumped and looked directly into the camera. Are you insane? Open this door. No. You said you understood. I lied. He froze. The same way you lied to me. His mouth opened, but I continued. Everything you own is in those boxes. Your access to my credit card and accounts has been removed. The locks have been changed. You cannot throw me out. This is my house. We lived here together. You lived here because I allowed it. His face twisted with rage. I will call the police. You are welcome too. Your property is packed safely and nothing has been damaged. His anger cracked into fear. Where am I supposed to go? I looked at the man who had slept beside me for 2 years and felt no urge to rescue him. Go to Vanessa. His expression collapsed. Judy, please. We can talk. We already did. I paused. You said it did not count. He stared at the note attached to the box. It counted. I ended the connection. For another 20 minutes, Marcus shouted, threatened, and begged. Then a car pulled into the driveway. His friend Caleb got out and helped him load the boxes. Before leaving, Marcus looked directly into the camera one last time. He expected me to open the door. I did not. When the driveway was empty, I ordered dinner and sat alone in the house I had reclaimed. For the first time in 2 years, the silence felt honest. The aftermath began before midnight. Marcus called from 3 different numbers. The first voicemail was furious. You had no right to humiliate me like that. You are sick, Judy. Completely sick. The second arrived less than an hour later. His voice had changed. Please call me. I am at Caleb's apartment, and I do not know what to do. We can fix this. The third came after midnight. I went to Vanessa's. I sat at the edge of my bed and listened. She would not let me inside. She said she is seeing other people and does not want drama. She laughed at me. Judy, please. I made a mistake. I saved every voicemail. Not because I wanted to hear his pain again, but because I wanted a record if he attempted to twist the story into something else. I never replied. The next morning, messages from mutual friends began arriving. How could you throw him out without warning? He is devastated. 3 years should count for something. I answered each accusation with the same screenshot. Vanessa. My back still hurts from that angle. Totally worth it. Round 2 soon? Most people stopped responding. A few apologized. Others insisted Marcus had made only one mistake. They did not understand that the affair was not the only betrayal. His reasoning afterward had exposed something worse. He believed fidelity depended on whether he enjoyed breaking it. 2 days later, Marcus's mother called. What you did was cruel, she said without greeting me. Marcus cheated. He told me the situation was complicated. It was not. He said he stopped because he realized he loved you. He stopped because the experience disappointed him. She sighed heavily. People make mistakes. They do. Then forgive him. I can forgive him without allowing him back into my house. You cannot erase 3 years overnight. I did not erase them. He destroyed what they meant. Her tone hardened. He has nowhere to live. He can stay with you? Silence followed. The solution sounded less compassionate once it required something from her. Marcus eventually moved into his childhood bedroom. I heard the details through Mark, one of the few friends who spoke without pressuring me. Vanessa had rejected him immediately. She told him sleeping together had been a moment of boredom, not a reunion. She was dating 2 other men and did not want his boxes cluttering her apartment. Marcus had sacrificed his home for a woman who did not even consider him an option. The irony did not make me happy. It only confirmed how little thought he had given to the destruction he caused. His apologies continued for several weeks. At first, they focused on love. I miss you. You were my future. I cannot imagine my life without you. Then they shifted toward practical needs. My parents are driving me insane. I cannot afford another apartment yet. I need access to some of the subscriptions. Finally, the messages became angry again. You are enjoying this. You always wanted control. You trapped me by owning the house. That accusation almost made me laugh. I had not trapped Marcus. I had simply stopped protecting him from consequences. The silence inside my home changed over time. At first, every room seemed to remember him. The couch held the shape of evenings we spent together. The kitchen reminded me of meals he praised but rarely helped prepare. Even the hallway carried the phantom sound of his key entering the lock. Then the memories began fading. I repainted the bedroom. I replaced the sheets. I moved the furniture and turned the corner Marcus used as a gaming area into a reading space. Outside, I finally repaired the backyard deck he had complained about for 2 years, but never helped fix. I spent an entire Saturday sanding the boards beneath the summer sun. My shoulders ached by evening, but the work felt honest. Wood responded to effort. People did not always. My finances improved almost immediately. Without Marcus's impulsive spending, the balance in my account rose every month. My grocery bill dropped. The credit card stopped collecting mysterious restaurant charges and weekend purchases. More surprising was what happened to my body. My blood pressure decreased. I slept through the night. The tightness I had carried in my jaw disappeared. For 3 years, I had mistaken exhaustion for partnership. I had been carrying a backpack filled with stones and calling it love. Once I set it down, I understood how heavy it had been. 4 months passed. Marcus's calls ended after I changed my number. I stopped hearing regular updates. Perhaps he found another job. Perhaps he found another woman willing to support him. It no longer mattered. I did not date. I did not need another person to prove I had moved forward. I spent weekends hiking, rebuilding friendships, and learning how peaceful life could feel when no one constantly required rescue. Then, 6 months after I changed the locks, I went to an upscale grocery store downtown. I was comparing 2 packages of steak when someone tapped my shoulder. Judy? I turned. Marcus stood behind me. For a second, I barely recognized him. His hair was unkempt. His hoodie looked slept in, and deep exhaustion sat beneath his eyes. His basket contained frozen pizza, cheap wine, and a box of tissues. Mine held steak, asparagus, and a bottle of Cabernet. The contrast seemed almost cruel. You look good, he said softly. I am good. He stepped closer. I miss you every day. I returned my attention to the steaks. Can we talk for 5 minutes? We have already talked. You cut me off without giving me closure. I looked at him. I packed your belongings carefully. I returned everything. I explained why the relationship ended. You threw away 3 years over one mistake. You are still calling it one mistake. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. I told you I did not enjoy it. I stopped. I chose you. No. You were caught. His face tightened. But I came home. You came back to the house you expected me to keep providing. He reached for my arm. I stepped away. Judy, please. Does none of it count? His question hung between us. For the first time in 6 months, I understood exactly how I wanted to answer. Marcus stood beside the refrigerated display, waiting for me to answer. Around us, shopping carts rolled past. Somewhere near the bakery, a child laughed. The store continued operating as if the last 3 years of my life were not standing in front of me asking whether they counted. I placed the package of ribeye in my basket. You want to know whether our relationship mattered? Yes. His answer came too quickly. We had a home, Judy. We talked about marriage. I know I ruined things, but you acted like none of it was real. I studied his face. He still believed the worst thing I had done was refuse to preserve his preferred version of our history. It was real to me, I said. Hope flickered in his eyes. Then we can fix it. No. His expression fell. I said it was real. I did not say it was repairable. Marcus looked around, embarrassed by the firmness in my voice. I have changed. How? I understand what I lost. That describes regret, not change. I went to therapy. For how long? He hesitated. A few weeks. And what did you learn? That I sabotage good things when I am afraid. It sounded rehearsed. I waited. He continued. I was afraid of settling. Vanessa represented who I used to be. I wanted to know whether that version of me was still alive. So you slept with her? I stopped. After you started. His jaw tightened. You keep focusing on the act. The act was cheating. But it did not mean anything? That makes it worse. He stared at me. How? You risked our entire relationship for something you now insist was meaningless. Marcus looked down into his basket. I know it sounds bad. It was bad. I was confused. You were selfish. His eyes filled again. Why are you being so cruel? I almost laughed, but there was nothing funny about the word anymore. Cruel would have been destroying your belongings. Cruel would have been humiliating you publicly or trying to ruin your career. You locked me out. Of my house. Our house. My name was on the deed. My money paid the mortgage. He recoiled. You always said it was ours. I believed we were building a future together. Then you demonstrated that your commitment depended on whether another woman satisfied you. A woman nearby glanced toward us before pushing her cart away. Marcus lowered his voice. I made one terrible decision. No, you made several. I counted them calmly. You met Vanessa behind my back. You slept with her. You planned another encounter. You lied until I saw the message. Then you decided it did not count because you disliked the experience. He had no response. And 6 months later, I continued. You still think disappointment erases betrayal. I chose you. No, Vanessa rejected you. His face went pale. That is not true. She would not let you inside when you showed up with your boxes. Who told you that? It does not matter. His humiliation transformed briefly into anger. You enjoyed hearing that. No, I shook my head. It confirmed that you did not return because you valued me. You returned because the other door was closed. Marcus gripped the handle of his basket. I still love you. You may believe that. You do not believe me? I believe you miss the life I maintained. He stepped closer. I miss waking up beside you. You complained that I woke up too early. I miss your cooking. You rarely helped. I miss talking to you. You spent most evenings on your phone. Each answer stripped another layer from the fantasy he was trying to rebuild. His shoulders sagged. What do you want me to say? Nothing. Then why are you still standing here? Because you asked whether it counted. I looked directly into his eyes. It counted enough to hurt me. His expression softened. It counted enough for me to mourn. Tears slid down his cheeks. But it does not count enough to excuse what you did. He wiped his face quickly. So I am just supposed to live with this forever? You are supposed to live with yourself. His voice dropped to a whisper. I do not know how. That is not something I can teach you. Marcus glanced toward the checkout lanes. I thought eventually you would calm down. I was calm when I packed your belongings. I thought you would miss me. I missed who I believed you were. He looked at me as if that answer hurt more than anger. Then he asked, Did you ever really love me? Yes. The certainty surprised him. I loved you deeply. Then how can you walk away? Because love is not permission to betray me without consequences. For several moments, neither of us moved. Then Marcus repeated the question that had followed us from the couch to the porch and finally into this grocery aisle. If I did not enjoy it, why did it have to destroy everything? I checked my watch. The football game started in less than an hour, and I had dinner to prepare in the quiet home he no longer occupied. The answer was suddenly simple. Because your pleasure was never the measurement. I lifted my basket. My dignity was. Marcus stood frozen as I stepped around him. Behind me, he called my name. I did not turn. Not yet. The final answer he deserved would come before I left the store. I had taken only 3 steps when Marcus spoke again. "Judy, wait." His voice was louder this time, strained enough that several people turned toward us. I stopped beside a display of imported cheese. For a moment, I considered continuing toward the checkout without answering, but the question he had asked deserved one final response. Not for him. For me. I turned around. Marcus still stood beside the refrigerated case, gripping his basket as though it were the only thing keeping him upright. "We were together for 3 years," he said. "You cannot act like I am a stranger." His voice trembled. "We talked about marriage. We had plans. We had a life." I walked back slowly, stopping far enough away that he could not touch me. "Yes," I said. "We did." His face softened with hope. Then I continued. "But I spent most of that relationship stressed." The hope disappeared. "I paid the mortgage, the utilities, and most of our daily expenses. I organized the house, remembered appointments, managed crises, and carried the emotional weight whenever your life became uncomfortable." Marcus stared at me. "I thought that was partnership." "So did I." I tilted my head, pretending to consider the past exactly as he had considered the affair. "But now that I think about it, I did not enjoy most of it." He blinked. "What?" "I did not enjoy constantly rescuing you." My voice remained calm. "I did not enjoy wondering why the person beside me felt emotionally absent. I did not enjoy paying for a shared future while you were privately testing whether you preferred your past. Judy, I did not enjoy discovering that your loyalty depended on the quality of sex with another woman." His face drained of color. People were still moving around us, but the aisle seemed unnaturally quiet. Marcus shook his head. "That is not the same thing." "Why not?" "Because we were real. You said enjoyment determined whether an experience counted. That was different." "Of course it was." I gave him a small, polite smile. "It benefited you." His mouth opened, but no answer came. I continued before he could rebuild the argument. "You told me sleeping with Vanessa did not count because you did not enjoy it." Marcus looked increasingly afraid of where the conversation was going. "So using your logic," I said, "our relationship did not count either." His eyes widened. "You cannot say that." "I just did. 3 years cannot disappear because you are angry." "I am not angry." That was what unsettled him most. There was no rage in my voice, no revenge, only distance. "I did not enjoy carrying you," I said. "I did not enjoy being treated like housing, financial security, and emotional support while you searched for excitement elsewhere." His eyes filled again. "So technically, Marcus, we never dated." He stared at me as though I had struck him. "That is cruel." "No." I adjusted the basket against my arm. "It is your philosophy." Marcus took a step forward. "Please do not do this." "I am not doing anything to you. You are erasing me. You erased yourself." His voice broke. "I am sorry." "I know. I hate what I did." "That is yours to live with." "Do you hate me?" I thought about it. The question deserved honesty. "No." He looked almost relieved. Then I finished. "I would have to remain emotionally connected to hate you." The relief vanished. To me, Marcus was no longer the man who slept beside me or discussed engagement rings over dinner. He was someone I once trusted, a lesson wearing a familiar face. "Judy," he whispered, "what am I supposed to do now?" "Build a life you do not need another person to maintain." "I do not know how." "Learn." He lowered his head. For 1 second, pity flickered inside me. Not enough to save him. Only enough to hope he eventually became better for his own sake. I stepped around him again. "Goodbye, Marcus." He did not follow. At the checkout, I placed the steak, asparagus, and Cabernet on the conveyor belt. My hands did not shake. Outside, the autumn air was crisp and clean. The sun was sinking behind the buildings, painting the sky violet and gold. I loaded the groceries into my car. Then I drove home. The house was quiet when I entered. Not lonely. Quiet. There was a difference I had needed months to understand. I seasoned the steak, opened the wine, and turned on the game. The repaired backyard deck was visible through the glass doors, solid beneath the fading light. For years, I thought revenge would feel dramatic. I imagined satisfaction in Marcus losing Vanessa, losing the house, or being forced back into his childhood bedroom. But none of that was the victory. The victory was waking without anxiety. It was paying bills that belonged only to me. It was entering my own home without wondering whether the man inside respected me. Marcus once claimed betrayal did not count because he did not enjoy it. He believed consequences should be measured by his pleasure. I learned something better. A betrayal counts because of the choice behind it. A relationship counts because of the trust invested in it. And when someone destroys that trust deliberately, love does not require the injured person to stay and help rebuild the life they shattered. Our 3 years had counted. That was exactly why I left. They mattered too much to let Marcus reduce them to an inconvenience he could explain away. I poured myself a glass of wine and watched the last sunlight disappear across the backyard. The front door was locked. The house was peaceful. And no one inside it was lying to me.